the quality of this iPhone, I gotta start making sure I'm somewhat put together for these videos now. But anyways, welcome to the first part of my series of trying to find the perfect starter camera bag for your starting budding photographer and or videographer. Today I have this Caden. Hold on, let me look at the name because it's an interesting name. It is the Caden DSLR SLR camera bag backpack with 14-inch laptop compartment. And yes, that is the name for this bag, and there's actually more to the name. I'm just not saying it because it's too much. All you need to know is that this is a camera bag. I will say that it looks like this particular bag isn't available on Amazon anymore, but there is a kind of different version of the same bag by the same company. And it just really has a different design pattern. It looks like everything else is the exact same as this bag that I have here. And now it also has a bigger size of this. So for those that are possibly interested in this bag but want a bigger size than what I have here, they offer a bigger size now, so that's pretty cool. And I'm guessing with a bigger size, you'll also be able to fit a bigger laptop in it, so there's that. Anyways, I'm going to copy a YouTuber that goes by the name of Aaron Radcliffe on their 4 important points of a camera bag. Now, point number 1 will be the protection factor of a camera bag, because a camera bag needs to keep your gear protected, whether it be from the elements or drop or whatever. They have to keep your gear inside protected because that gear inside can be very expensive. Now, point number 2 is if the camera bag has good access, because you don't want to be struggling to get to your gear while you're on the job or on the shot or on the site, whatever you want to call it, because that would just not look very professional. You lose time and, it's not great to have to struggle to get your gear. Now, point number 3 will be comfort. Now, if it's something that you'll be able to wear for extended periods of time, because if it's not something that you'll be okay with wearing for extended periods of time, you may not be too enthused about go out and do things like freelancing or hobbying or whatever. If the bag is not comfortable, you're not going to want to wear it. And the final point is point number 4, which is whether if the bag is stealthy or not. You don't want to advertise out to the world that you have expensive camera gear in your bag. That's how you get robbed. So first off, this bag is not going to hold a lot of gear. Also keep in mind, this one is not the large version of the bag. This is the normal size version of the bag. And I feel like that's fine that it's not going to hold a lot of gear if you're just starting off, because chances are you don't have a lot of gear to take with you to places. As for me, I only have 3 lenses for my camera and the camera body itself. So this bag does fit it all together in one specific spot. So this bag does fit it all together. So I'm able to take pretty much everything I need with me, including things like a tripod, ND filter, batteries, a tablet. Not my laptop, unfortunately, because it's a 16-inch laptop, but I can fit pretty much everything I need in this bag. Now, this bag does have a rectangle cube. It's not a camera cube, like a regular square cube or whatever. This is in the form of a rectangle, so there is that. It slides inside the bag and it has its own pouch, zips up. It has a little bit of Velcro here to help keep it secured so that the flap doesn't just fly out as easily, or, could be a theft deterrent because you'll be able to hear somebody peeling off the Velcro. And with this rectangle, it does come with some adjustable little dividers in here, so you can make adjustments to however you want to fit your gear here with the camera body and your lenses. So that's pretty neat. Being able to customize your storage for your stuff is very handy and helpful, because not all lenses and not all camera bodies are created equal and when it comes to size. Now, this rectangle obviously isn't huge, so like I said earlier, you're not going to be able to carry everything with you if you have more than what a typical beginner will have, which is like a camera body and a lens or 2. But as I also said, there is a bigger version of this bag, which I believe you may be able to carry more. Don't quote me on that because I don't have the bag myself. But it looks like you would be able to carry more of your gear in that rectangle, camera cube, rectangle. Would it be camera? Would it be a rectangle cube? I'm not sure. But it looks like you might be able to carry more in that bigger size bag. Like I said, don't quote me on that because I don't have it, but there is that option. And I will also say that this rectangle is pretty thick, so it should keep your gear safe from any kind of impact. The bottom does have some thickness as well, so drop impact is safe. Side impact, inside impact, because the dividers are fairly thick, you won't have to worry about your gears slapping into each other and breaking, so that's pretty nice. Also, there's this little handle right here, so you can just pull it out easily. That's cool. Now on the top side, you do have a few options for storage. You do have this main pocket, this big pocket to keep your tablet or your laptop if it's small enough to fit in here. My 8-inch iPad mini fits perfectly fine in here, so there's that. But I will say I really wouldn't trust this bag to keep your electronics and stuff safe, because the bottom of the bag, outside of the camera cube, this bottom is very thin. It barely offers any protection. I dare say it doesn't offer any kind of protection from impacts or falling down. So you got to be careful about placing your bag down, because it can really hurt your electronics that are in this main pocket of the bag. Now the main area, you will see that there is a shelf, and this shelf is there because obviously the camera rectangle was underneath it, but you can unzip it and take out the camera rectangle to use this bag as a regular backpack to store stuff in there, like clothes or whatever else you need in there. So a little bit more customization that you can do with this bag, so it can fit multiple purposes like a camera bag or just a regular backpack. You also have a zipper pocket right here, so you can keep things in there like ND filters, batteries, SD cards, stuff like that. When you have the shelf up, you have about half the bag of storage, so you can put things in there like a little gimbal, tripod, stuff like that, little drone. Things like that can go in here, and since it'll be on top of the shelf, if you have the shelf up, your items will be protected inside this main compartment from drop impacts from the bottom. Not the sides, because the sides don't have any really much padding, but don't have to worry about dropping on the bottom and hurting your drone or whatever you have inside this main pocket while you have the shelf in there. And also keep in mind, if you do take the shelf out, like I was kind of alluding to earlier, the bottom of the bag does not really have much protection, so you gotta be careful with what you put in there if you're not using this shelf for whatever electronics you put in here. And also, you don't want to undo the zipper, because if you do and you have your camera rectangle in there, that will mean that there is an opening up top so that all your camera gear can kind of fall out from the top or fall up, whatever have you. And so without the sealing on top of the camera rectangle to keep your gear in place, it can just kind of fly all over the place. So I would highly recommend that if you're going to use the camera rectangle, make sure you have this shelf zipped shut, so it has a little bit of extra protection for your camera gear. Other than that, you do have another pocket right up in here, so you can keep other stuff in there, like I don't know, maybe a wallet, maybe SD cards, whatever you don't want to store here or you can't fit in here, but you can put in here. It does have a little bit of padding on the front, not a whole lot, but again, there's no real padding at the bottom, so you got to be careful with that, especially because the pocket does go all the way to the bottom of the bag, so gotta be careful. You do also have a water pouch on the side, so you can carry a water bottle. It's not super big, so I'm not sure how big a water bottle you'll be able to carry. And you have some straps on the bottom of the bag that you can use to carry a tripod. They strap together or snap together, tighten, loosen, so you can carry a tripod with you as well if you want. Or a jacket for the elements, whatever have you, that you can roll up and put underneath inside these straps. Now let's get to the actual ratings of this bag. Overall, for the protection aspect of the bag, I would give this bag maybe a 6 out of 10. Probably a little generous of me, but that's mostly because your camera gear will really be protected inside this bag, because that camera rectangle has so much padding on it. You have a shelf on top to make sure your camera body and or lens doesn't go flying all over the place. It's pretty sturdy in here. As for the other stuff, like in the laptop compartment or tablet compartment, this front pocket, you don't have a whole lot of protection in there, so I had to take off some points for that. But things on the inside of the bag when the shelf is up is fairly protected. But this bag also doesn't really have any weather resistance on here, I believe. I have to double check that. I'll put a correction in this video or whatever, but I haven't tested it in the elements, and I don't think I really want to, because this bag is fairly cheap and I don't trust it. As for the access of this bag, I would actually have to give it a 3 out of 10, and let me explain why, because that's a pretty low score. So when you need to access your gear in the bag, you have to take the strap and zip it down. And these zippers aren't very good quality. Plus you have this Velcro to try to get to. These zippers are not YKK, so they're not great. They're pretty cheap. And then you would have to pull out the camera rectangle in order to grab your stuff. And I really wouldn't trust this Velcro alone to keep your gear safe. I would suggest that you always use the zipper as well. You can't get away with not having to pull down the zipper to access your gear, because as you can kind of see, this Velcro, or this, whatever you would call this part of the Velcro, is starting to wear, which means that it's not as Velcro-y as it was when it was new, which means it's not as secure. It's quite a bit actually easier to open now. Plus this little zipper can get in the way if you don't have it over there. But it's very easy to open now. Sometimes it doesn't even really fully stick. So if you have heavy, like somewhat weighty gear in there and you shift the wrong way, or the inertia, the weight of their gear kind of goes the wrong way, it can easily open that out and fall out. So you have to use a zipper. You don't have to, but I would highly suggest that you would use a zipper at all times, which makes it harder to access your gear. Plus, trying to access your gear while standing because you're on the shoot or something, you can take it and go like this. So you have it almost like a sling and try to zip it down, open it. But you have to keep in mind, I don't know where you're going to put your camera body at. If you have like some sort of strap or something to hang the camera on, or if you're holding it in your hand. If you're holding the camera in your hand, it's going to make this tougher because you have to try to maneuver around. As you can see, I have a hard time getting my arm around. You can't go like this, but I have my bag resting on my chair, so that's kind of a moot point. But trying to access your gear with one hand like this, it's pretty tough and very worrisome because there's nothing to keep this camera cube in place or camera rectangle in place. So if you open it up just a little too much, your stuff can just fall out. And that could be very no bueno. And it's very hard to try to maneuver and grab your stuff. You can do something like this, however, do whatever you need to do. But again, it's not very secure and stable, and anything can really happen where you just have all your stuff fall out and break. And that is very scary. It's a scary thought to have to go with. So you would have to, or I would highly suggest that you sit down or place your bag down somewhere gently, because remember, there's not much padding on here for if you're holding a laptop or iPad back here, but you have to set your bag down and access your gear that way, which can eat up time, and it can really get annoying when you're on the job, whether it be for you or both you and your clients. And then if you have your camera in your hand, you do also have to make sure that you put this back up, which can be tough because these zippers are not great. So accessibility, 3 out of 10. As for comfortability, this bag is passably comfortable, so I give it about a 4 out of 10. It's nothing to really write home about. You do have a little bit of padding on the shoulder straps, but they're pretty thin. You don't have any kind of padding on the back, so you're going to feel the camera rectangle on your back, or whatever laptop you have or tablet you have in the back, because there's not much padding on the back. There is a little bit, it's kind of thick, I guess, but you'll still be able to feel stuff on your back. There's no ventilation, so you're going to have a sweaty back if you're in a warmer environment or an active environment. So comfort, 4 out of 10. Now as for stealth, I'd have to give this bag a 10 out of 10, because unless a robber is going around on Amazon and looking at camera bags, I don't know how anybody would see this and see that it would scream, "Hey, I have expensive camera equipment in this bag, steal me." It really just looks like maybe a high schooler or college student backpack. So stealth, 10 out of 10. I don't think anybody's going to suspect that this has expensive camera gear or drone or whatever inside of it. So all in all, if you need a cheap camera bag to get you started with photography and or cinematography, videography, this bag could work for you. But I'd highly suggest looking at a different bag. This one only lasted me for like a few months before I got tired of it and was looking for another bag. The accessibility for my camera gear was a big factor in it for me, because I don't want to have to deal with these crappy zippers trying to access my gear while having the heart attack of not being able to grab whatever I need from the camera rectangle safely and not having to worry about my stuff falling out because there's nothing to support it from the bottom. And if I can't access my gear in a timely fashion and make sure everything's secured back in a timely fashion, I can miss the shot. But on a positive note, this is a pretty small and easy to carry around bag. You can just throw stuff in it and just grab it and go. So that makes it nice and easy. It's not like one of those big professional-esque camera backpacks that are huge and you have to kind of lug around and make sure everything's in there and just kind of, you know, this is just pretty easy to just grab and go whenever you're just going on a quick shoot, whether it be for hobbying or for a job. So that was pretty nice about this bag. But if you still want this bag or the bigger version of this bag, I will have links down below for it, as well as my current camera bag that I'm using if you're interested in that. Those links won't cost you anything extra. They'll just provide me a little kickback if you do purchase this bag or the current bag that I'm using. So thanks for stopping by, and I guess wait for the next review on the current bag that I'm using. Catch you later.